So multiple allele traits. This is a number of traits that are the result of more than 2 alleles. Such traits are said to have multiple alleles for that trait. A great example that affects us all is blood types. There are 4 different blood types, and each factor or allele is carried on a gene designated as I. I'm not sure why they're already underlined. So how we would, our genotypes for these, it's not really written out properly. How we would write these is little I for O. IA would be IA. This is how the genotype would show up. Or IO, and we just use little I for O's. IB or IBI. And then if you're AB or just IA, IB. Okay, so that's what the alleles show up as, and A isn't dominant over B. They're co-dominant, but both of them together are dominant over O. So there's multiple alleles in this trait, and this is how they would show up. So blood type O is the least common just because it's that recessive. So I've been using this green for recessive. That's our recessive trait. When we talk about our sort of middle trait, that would be our AB, just because that is something that is a mixture of the two. And then if we're looking at our, I guess, dominant one, we would say these ones would be, okay? But it's a little bit not cut and dry, and that's why they're called multiple alleles. Okay, so let's try an example of these types of crosses. So we're looking at multiple alleles and doing an example of that. So it says a man with type O blood marries a woman with heterozygous type A blood. What is the possible genotypes and phenotypes of their children? So the first thing I like to do is, we got to find out what the genotypes, what the alleles look like for the man and the woman. So it says a man with blood type O. So if we go back one slide, maybe not. Right here, we see that if you have blood type O, then you are II. So for this guy, he's little I, because he has blood type O. For a woman, she is blood type A and she's heterozygous. Remember, hetero means different. So she's blood type A and she's got different. So these ones are the same, these ones different. So that is what she would be. IA. Okay. So what are the possible genotypes and phenotypes of the children? Well, we need to do a Punnett square to figure that out. So I'm putting the man up here and then the woman's genotype on the side. It really doesn't matter where you put it. Then I'm going to cross them, so I'm going to write down I'm going here and here to get II, and then this one here and there gives me II, and same over here. Okay, so this is our Punnett square. So it's the question asks us, what are the possible genotypes and phenotypes of the children? Well, if we look at these children, 2 of them are IAI, and 2 of them are II. Okay? So as far as genotypes, we can just write that down. So we've got IAI. We've got 2 of them. Sort of write it as a ratio. And then we've got 2 little I. Okay? That's the genotypes. That's what we see at the gene level. All right. As far as the phenotypes is what we see with our eyes. So what does that look like with our eyes? Well, it looks like blood type A. So we've got 2 of those, and then little I is type O, and we've got 2 of those. All right. So that is how we figure that out. This is our phenotypes. Oops. So yeah, this is our phenotypes. This is literally what it looks like to our eyes. And right here is our genotypes. Okay. Let's do another example. It says a woman with blood type O. So woman with O, we know that if the woman is O, she needs to have little I. And a man who has blood type AB, if we go back up, I'm not going to, but because it keeps messing up. If we go back up, we see that AB, you have a little bit of A and a little bit of B, so that's how we would write AB. They're expecting a child. What are the possibilities of their blood types? So let's do this cross. Putting the little I's on the top. And these on the side. It really doesn't matter again. And then you cross them. I always write the larger, the uppercase, the dominant one first, and that's what you should always do, is write the dominant allele first. All right, so if we look at this, half of our babies are going to be blood type B and half would be blood type A. So that would be our phenotype. 2 type A and 2 type B. And then our genotype, would be 2 IAI and 2 IBI. All right, so that's what it would look like for our genotypes and phenotypes. Okay. Ooh, that's really large. And then there's one more example here. Jill is blood type O. She has 2 older brothers who make her crazy with blood types A and B. What are the genotypes of their parents? So this is a little bit of a backwards one. I'm going to go through how we would sort of use the detective work. So Jill, I'm just going to write down her blood type. If she's blood type O, then her genotype would have to be little I. Little I. And then her brothers are, oh, they're different types. I was going to say this wouldn't make any sense. So brother 1 is type A, and brother 2 is type B. Okay. So we can actually figure this all out really from just looking at Jill and knowing the brothers. Jill is little I, and what we know about this is that one of these I's comes from your mom and one comes from your dad. So if we were to sort of see this branch, let's just say mom and dad. So let's, as far as Jill, her mom gave her a little I and her dad gave her a little I. Okay, so maybe I should write this over here. Mom and dad. So we know that they have a little I because they each gave one to Jill. Now these brothers, they're type A and type B. So to be type B or type A, he would have to have IA. And then because he's going to get one from each parent, he's going to have a little I. Why? Because this guy's is blood type B. So that must mean that one of the parents is blood type A and one of them is B. And they're heterozygous. They carry that O gene, that allele for blood type O. And that's why Jill gets blood type O. Even though her mom is blood type A and her dad is blood type B, she can be O because she gets these from her parents. Now the brothers, on the other hand, they didn't get the first brother 1 may have got the A from his mom and the I from his dad, and then the brother 2 would get the B from his dad and the I from his mom. If these are the parents' genotypes, that means they could actually have a child that is the AB. Their blood type AB, because we could have an A from the mom and a B from the dad. So these parents actually could have any type of blood type child. They could have A, they could have B, they could have AB, and they could have O. So they have all of the possibilities. So the question is asking, what are the genotypes of them parents? Well, mom is IA. Oops. IAI, and dad is IBI. And that might not be, it might be switched, but either way, one of the parents is IAI and one of the other parents is IBI. Okay, so this would be our answer. Oops. Perfect. So the sex-linked traits, these are genes that are carried on the X chromosome, and because males only receive one X chromosome, they're more likely to inherit these disorders. This means basically that males only have one X, so they have a much greater chance of getting the disorder. I showed you right on the bottom here, a male has an XY, and a female is XX. So if that male has, I put a little dot there to show that's like a disorder. If the female had a dot, well, they've still got one good X there, so that will override and they'll be fine. They won't have the disorder, but a male, he only has one X in his chromosomes, so, well, in his sex chromosomes, So this Y isn't gonna override anything. So his X, if it carries some sort of trait, it's gonna show up in him. And depending on what that is, it could be good or bad. I guess it's never really good. This one, pretty common one, is red-green color blindness. So it's a recessive sex-linked trait, and it's found on the X chromosome, not the Y, because males only have one X. They have a much greater chance of having red-green color blindness. Females would have to be homozygous recessive in order to have red-green color blindness. So what that means for girls, they would have to have 2 of these X's that carry that gene, okay, in order to be red-green color blindness, not blind, but not being able to distinguish between red and green. And this is a very common color blindness and almost seen exclusively in males. If a female had red-green color blindness, their dad would have to be red-green colorblind, because as far as we look at this, you get 1 X from your mom and 1 X from your dad. So if you got the X from your dad and you were red-green colorblind, your dad would have to be colorblind because he gives you his X. And then your mom could be just a carrier, so she might not know that she carries the gene for red-green color blindness. So your dad's colorblind and your mom carries the gene, you could become colorblind as a woman. As far as a man, your mom could carry it and your dad could not be colorblind, and you still would show up colorblind. So a much better chance as a male to be colorblind. So we'll do an example here. It says a homozygous woman has 2 alleles for full color vision. Has 2 alleles for full color vision and has children with a colorblind man. Describe the genotype of each parent. So we got a homozygous woman who has 2 alleles for full color vision. So she's homozygous and she doesn't carry, she's not colorblind. So this would be the woman. And the man, and she has children with a colorblind man. So describe the genotypes of the parents. Well, they're all XYs, and I've been using dot to signify that the man is, or the X means it's carrying colorblindness. So that's a colorblind man, and then XX without any dots would mean she's full color vision. Then it's asking us to build a Punnett square to predict the possible genotypes of their children. So just like before, we would draw our Punnett square. We can draw the parents on the side, and then this X has a dot, right? There's lots of ways you can signify colorblind. You might want to write a letter there. I'm just showing you it in color, I guess. So one of these would have to have a dot. Okay. So if a colorblind man had children with a woman who did not carry color blindness, she was full color vision, the chances of any of their children being colorblind is 0%, because the men, they don't carry the color blindness, and these ones only have carriers. Girls would have to have 2 dots in order to be colorblind, and since they only have 1 dot, they're not colorblind. So what are the genotypes of the children? Well, we've got 2 that are X carriers. Those are girls. And 2 that are just XY. So these are carrier females, and these are normal males. So it's a 50-50 chance always that you're going to have a girl or a boy, right? 2 to 2. And then within those, every girl would be a carrier, and all of the males would not have the gene at all. Okay? Because the males will always get their Y from their dad, and the females will get the X from the dad. And the X from the dad is the one that gives them that carrier gene. Use a Punnett square to explain why the sons have full color vision, even though their father is colorblind. Well, we just did that. I don't know if we have to use a Punnett square, but basically, men, X, Y, girls. So I just explained this, but why are they not colorblind? Because they only inherit the Y from their dad. So males always get their X chromosome from their mom and their Y from their dad, and then females, they get the X from their dad and an X from their mom. So their mom has 2 X's. It's just one of those X's comes from the mom. Okay? So then there's some practice problems there about that. And that is the end of that section. I will post everything for you, and hopefully if you have any questions, please let me know.